I picked this one mostly because I feel like the first 15-ish minutes I played pretty well, and then somewhere after that it just went off the rails. Uh, I'm not exactly sure why either. Uh, the itemization, I feel like could use some work. I'm not really sure where that went wrong. I mostly was building to try and keep up with Kane and his mobility. I don't know if that kind of like
Yeah,
was the downfall, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
great. I was gonna say I love these type of games because these are the best type of games to learn from. If you've got a lead and you can't close it out, sometimes it's a team diff. Usually with Udyr, if you can get an early lead, usually the only way you should be losing is if your teammates are just too heavy. So I'm excited. We'll see what we would have done different. I'm excited to watch the first 15 minutes here too. I like starting R. Oh yeah, hit him with that. Very nice. I know we're obviously watching back, but I'll pretend like we're watching in real time as much as I can. So there's always a glitch too in replay tools where I'll be able to see like the invisible jungle camps or whatever that the enemy jungler's doing. So we'll have that information. It may make me biased, but whatever. So how are you liking Udyr? What playstyles of Udyr? I saw, I was looking through your match history. There's a couple different types. Seems like, are you liking tank Udyr or kind of what's your preferred playstyle?
I think the one that I'm like most comfortable with is just AP tank. It's probably
Heck
the
yeah.
simplest.
Yeah, highly effective. Literally, you can get to 1,000 LP challenger playing it. So if you like it, I always tell people go for it. Not my cup of tea, but hey, it's really effective. You got pretty good kiting on your camps here too. One thing you could do a little different on your Krugs if you wanted is you can kite them closer to the wall. Um, a cheeky thing that is really easy is if you get them like almost walk sideways towards your base with the Krugs, and then you can do them in between like the red and the Krug pit almost with the Awaken R.
Okay.
This is all good so far though. You're doing a good job of using your abilities. The potion. One thing I will say that will help you a little bit here is on your red buff, it does make a slight difference. If you are kiting it out just a little bit more, I always tell people kind of like the R circle, play it in the pocket with those single target buffs like Gromp, red, blue. You don't want them auto attacking you. So just keep them away. And like when your auto attack is on cooldown, just don't be anywhere near it. It'll speed your clear up too, and it'll hopefully help you save that pot. Here's another very, very tiny thing. I know I'm obviously this never comes from a place of judgment either. It's always just things I'm observing. I usually do the Grump before the blue, and the reason why is if you think about it, if you close your eyes on your next clear cycle, you're going to have a weird like 10 to 15 second delay between your wolves and your Grump, right? Cool thing
Okay.
about your buffs is every other cycle, they come up. So like if you ever are in that weird scenario where you're pathing down, you're level 3, and you have to do a camp before you gank, do the Grump before the blue, so that way your next clear cycle isn't affected.
Okay.
But really, really good so far. Really not a whole lot to complain. Like you're auto-attacking it with every other stance is really good. You're using your double Q before going into lightning Q. That's really good. A lot of Udyrs don't do that. I like this gank. This is exactly what I would have done. She's out of mana. I actually like you holding onto the R until after. Normally, I turn my R on first if she has the mana, but if they're it's correct to hold on to the R until after the bear's done. I like you checking on Crab. That's good information. Good ward. You're playing this Raptor start very well. I know it seems like this is just brain dead mode, but you would be... I'd look at a lot of different Udyrs, A lot of people don't even execute this well. You've set up vision. You've gotten eyes on Kane. You got a clean Raptor start. Your clear is good. It's got room for improvement, but it's good. This is all really good so far. I like that you went for the mid gank. I like how you executed the mid gank. There's not a whole lot to give feedback on, but like you said, sounds like the start of this game was not the difficult part.
The big thing for me is not knowing when to back and spend gold
So
versus stay
pause.
out.
I was going to say, great question. Pause real quick. Take a look at top real quick for me. So a fun thing about the Raptor start clear, fun fact, is you hit level 5 as the same time as the top laner. It's why it's called the Super XP start. Most junglers, if you start blue or red, cannot be level 5 right now. You're level 5 before 5 minutes. That's insane, right? You're perfectly on tempo. That's how you know you're on tempo as a jungler there. You can look to gank this, but to answer your question, there's 2 things you're going to have in your mind here. So number 1, this wave is crashing in. Number 2, can we kill him? If you press tab, that's kind of where your decision comes from. Usually on a Raptor start, you back right now exactly when you're doing. So literally as soon as you kill the last Krug, press B, unless you think you need to counter gank. So there are 2 scenarios. Number 1 is the wave is crashing in and you think you can kill whoever the top laner is. In my opinion, your Gnar's a little underleveled. He's got a cloth armor. You don't have any items spent. Urgot has a Duran shield and a longsword. And we don't really know where the Kayn is. We know that he pathed the top side, but we don't really know where he is, you know. For me, this is not a high chance of killing Urgot. I would go back immediately. But if you could kill him, you would come here, gank, and then go back to base immediately and go run towards your bot side. Another thing that you can kind of start thinking about, because I mentioned, you know, with your blue buff, every other cycle is affected if you delay your blue buff. Every cycle is affected essentially if you delay your Gromp. How I look at it is every other cycle especially on a Raptor start, you've got like a 15 to 20 second window built in to go back to base. Because the idea is on your second clear, you don't have a blue buff and you don't have a red buff. So you know how your wolves right now spawn like 30 seconds after and it's kind of weird? It's because the clear path is set up where it's designed for you to spend your gold right now and then go clear your bot side camps because you've got that back layered in. So to answer the question, when to spend gold. Number 1, if you can't gank, go back immediately. If you can gank, you should go for it, in my opinion, especially with their level 5 Raptor start. The second thing you want to factor in, too, is when your camps are on cooldown. The best time to back, obviously, is when all your camps are on cooldown. Usually, for the first 4 clears, that will happen every other clear after you finish either the red or the blue side, depending which side you're pathing to. But that's kind of the answer to that. Did that help a little bit?
It does, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, we can keep watching. That's kind of the answer. I wanted to take a look at top. I don't think that's killable. Some other Udyrs might disagree, but just go back to base and spend gold. Urgot is kind of spooky. In other words, you played this exactly how I would have played this. You cleared your camps. You're level 5. Right here, I'm going to pause. So here is another very common decision you're going to get every single game you do a Raptor start, right? Especially as red side. Do I go to the dragon or do I do my bot side wolves and Gromp, which I think are level 5, right? If you can do the dragon, like let's say you know the enemy jungler's pathing top, which we do because we saw top on cap or the Kayn on top crab. If we have prio in at least one of the lanes, usually mid lane is the most important of the 2, but mid lane, if you've got mid prio and the enemy jungle's top, I go straight into the dragon and then I just full clear back up to grubs. If you don't have a clear shot at dragon and it's super, super sketch, I just go into farming and play it by ear and wait for a better moment. Especially if you don't have prio mid, you'll get punished pretty hard. But that is just another thing I want to mention there. I like that you're going straight into dragon here, especially with the Udyr helping you. You can keep playing too if you want. Any questions on that, by the way? Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Okay, great. Your mid dies. So if I'm you, I personally would not have done this dragon. I would have actually just gone back to my camps, farmed, waited for the mid lane to come back, and then done the dragon. The idea is Lux is going to have to reset at some point, and now imagine you were doing your Gromp, which just respawned right now. You would be finishing Gromp, Lux isn't here, Gromp's probably dead, and you're walking to dragon, starting it, and your Azir's here. But thankfully, Lux just walks over without spitting gold and instant away. We got rewarded for this play, but I probably would, as soon as your mid dies, I would have backed off the objective, personally. Just food for thought. I like your decision, honestly, so, I'm going to pause, because here's another, I'm just trying to give you, big top-down moments that you can think about. Another thing you can do in certain games is, let's say you do go into the dragon. if you have clear advantages in mid and top, you can run straight through mid and go for grubs. One thing, just a seed I'm going to plant in your mind, as a jungler, I'll tell you, it's sometimes the right decision and sometimes the wrong decision. But if we look at the map right now, there is a Kayn top. In another world, you could have done the crab, waited for the crab, and then just walked straight to grubs and met Kayn at grubs. If you would you mind panning the camera to top here? Just to see what his health looks like. So Kane's half health, Urgot's half health. I mean, you could, another way you can especially blow out low elo, if you do dragon straight over to grubs, if they're low health, they're level 5, and it looks like Urgot's already used ult, yeah, I'm going straight over there. I'm pinging the Udyr to push mid, and we're going to try and fight them for the grubs. You'd get a double grub start, and the nice thing is, by the time all that's done, your Raptors and Krugs are going to be spawning. Usually what I look to do on a Raptor start, after the first round of objectives, so like Dragon and Rift Grubs, I try and set up a straight line clear path to whatever lane I'm trying to gank, right? So like,
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
It does, yeah.
So one thing you can look to do in these type of games is sprint to grubs, mess around on grubs. Even if you get one, that is really good because you can get a 4-stack if you get all 3 of the next one. Just try to get a grub or 2 and then full clear. Either go back to base and spend gold and then clear up to top, or start at top and clear down to bot in a straight line path and start camping the lane you're actually trying to camp.
Okay.
I would probably have done that here just because Kayn is a very easy matchup early game if you don't know. Pre-transformation, he's pretty weak. I try and bully the heck out of Kayn, so that's also would factor into the decision. But farming here is fine. Farming is the safer option. I just think with how much prio your Udyr has, that Lux just inted right in front of you, I'd be feeling very confident to go bully some people off some grubs,
Okay.
But we can keep going. That's always a fun little Urgot ult. Okay, so we do the Grump, and then we go over to the grubs. I probably would have, like I said, just crabbed straight to there. Usually, my headspace is that I'm either doing both jungle camps in the quadrant or none at all, And it's okay to go for either. Like, you don't have to be like, well, I went for this. This is really, really good. Great job, though. Like, you literally did exactly great. Super great. I love that you broke off your farm. Like, even though you went to your Grump, I love that you had at least the... How do you say it? You weren't too stubborn enough to stick on your camps. It was the correct play coming to grubs. You got rewarded. Literally, that is exactly what I would have done. Great job. I spoke too soon there. I like walking into you. You've got a lot of good habits. I'll tell you right now, this is a really good habit. Please continue to do this. If the enemy jungler dies, check on their camps first before farming your camps. And I think you smited him there. Nice. Great job. Yeah, you're dominating this early game. Literally, I always tell people do not undervalue, the time or whatever, or the value of taking away a jungle camp. If you take away one jungle camp, it's give or take 100 gold. It's a 200 gold swing, right? You do that twice, it's literally 400 gold. That 200 gold he's not getting, 200 gold you are. It's a big, big deal. Your early game is super clean. If you ever have a start like this, you should just be saying, I am playing super well. My top priority is to not die, and I would like to build movement speed. Usually with Udyr, when you're in a winning position, you want to try and get like a Mejai's, a Dark Seal. You want Swifties, you want a Deadman's. So if you ended up going Deadman's this game, I know you mentioned you built to kind of chase the Kayn. I get that. Deadman's is 100% a win more item. It's really, really good if you're in a winning game state. So I always encourage that. I'd be looking at kind of Mejai's Deadman's. Another thing that I will say, do you ever build Dark Seal at all?
No.
Okay. Dark Seal, and, a lot of Udyr players don't build it, but I do think of the Udyr players I know, the highest ranked on the ladders always build Dark Seal. It is, fun fact about Dark Seal, it's 350 gold, but as soon as it's in your inventory, it has 420-something gold value. So just by buying it, literally you get gold value in terms of stats. And then if you get any sort of stacks, it just ramps your clear speed. If you do get close to 6, 7, 8, 9 stacks, you can upgrade to Mejai's, and that 10% movement speed will help you snowball and close games out quicker. I know we were talking about how to essentially avoid late game mistakes. The easiest way to do that is in games as fast as possible. Dark Seal might help you a little bit in that arena as well. I like that you skip crab. This is really good. You've got a lot of good habits, like I said. I like that this is really good. Okay, the Awaken R there is interesting, but I kind of see what you're doing. A little zone. I'm like fiendishly hovering Awaken Q though in those type of scenarios. Usually not every, even with Faded Ashes and points in R, you kind of don't kill anybody unless you Lightning Q or you auto attack them 5 times inside of an Awaken R, So I always try and hold that Awakening. Good job here. Honestly, once again, these are really good habits you've got. I like that. Number 1, you went into the enemy Kane's Raptor pit instead of farming your own Raptors. Number 2, I like that you went mid. We probably could have killed her there. I usually just hold on to Awaken E anytime I see a low health Lux. But okay, you've got your Leandries, great. I was going to say, I don't know how much gold you've got, but if you've got Leandries, going back is great. You've got Swifties and Leandries, so you're doing exactly what I was, told you 2 minutes ago. Get some movement speed. So A+, you're doing very, very well. I'm curious to see what happens this game.
The big thing that stuck out to me is my bottom side camps have been out for 2 or 3 minutes now and just sitting there.
Honestly, I'm going to say, so if you want to pause real quick because I don't want to miss this fight, I would say how I look at it is you've taken a Kane Gromp, a Kane Raptors, you've applied pressure to all 3 lanes, you're in a winning position. How I look at jungle is like, farm is critically important, and yes, you could be farming your bot side. Bot side is worth 300 gold. Outside of the Lux mid gank, and we can rewatch it if you want. I think you and me both, if you want to, I think that's a kill there next time around. I think you just Awaken E on the Lux Snare or the Lux E and you're A-okay. You just needed literally 2 more auto attacks or a better Awakening next time, That being said, you're perfectly on tempo. You've got the gold you need for your items. You don't need to farm that 300 gold. And by not spending the gold, it's going to take you an extra 15 seconds to farm it because you didn't buy your item, which will amp your clear speed, right? Okay. In addition, the next round of objectives are coming up. Why I don't think farming is correct in that last minute is because in a winning game state, I'm applying map pressure and getting objectives on cooldown as soon as they spawn. I don't want the enemy jungler to have a single chance to get a dragon, Rift Grub stack, Rift Herald. I want them all off the map immediately, especially if you've got a winning bot lane. Now, from a game state, you've got inting solo laners, so top side is super scary. If I'm you this game, I'm probably sticking on Jhin like white on rice and playing for a dragon stack. Jhin is a scaling ADC. It all depends on who your ADC is. If you've got an early game ADC, I'd probably go for Grubs. If you like Tristana, Draven, shit like that. If you've got a Jhin, I'm playing for dragons and scaling. So going top is after your gold spend. I probably would have gone bot here. 100% honest. I would have pathed the bot. Not only are your camps up bot, but your Nar's inting. Your Azir is not that great, and low elo is any Azir below 500 LP Grandmasters is really bad. I'm telling you, all Azirs are not trustworthy in solo queue. They're just not. So I would not play for Grubs, and I would be playing for Dragon. For that reason, I would have pathed bot. But to answer your question, jungle camps are a game of tempo, okay? And in a winning game state, I remember years ago, somebody else, I can't even remember who, told me that your jungle camps are like dessert after the main meal of the enemy jungler and the enemy laners, right? Pressure, you're doing a great job this game pressuring. If you look at Kane is level 7. He's 10 CS behind. You've been tracking him this entire game. You sacrificed a ton of tempo to get objectives. Keep that in mind, right? You would have been probably at 90 CS, 100 CS by now if you'd been power farming. You sacrificed your time to get your team ahead with Ocean Dragons and Grubs. I'm happy to see how you're playing this. I would have gone bot. Here's kind of the only big thing I think at this point I would have changed. But if you've got your item, don't worry about farming and keep keep the tempo is the most important thing. I hope that answered it a little bit there.
It does, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing I suffer from is like I see that Jin is so far ahead. I'm like, okay, I don't need to devote any time to him. He's got it himself, which is probably not the correct answer.
Yeah, man. It's funny. You would think that, but I'll tell you, you got to protect your assets in solo queue. Like it's literally, I look at it as like an investment. If you get a bot lane gank, if you get a top lane gank, or if you're just blessed to have them win on your own, it's literally like an asset. And if the enemy jungler steps in there or messes it up, or the enemy mid laner gets like a magic pin lethality spike and kills them, then shit. We need a new win condition, right? And it really only takes 1 or 2 deaths for someone to get shut down this season. So I tend to, especially if you have a blowout bot lane, a ton of CC like this, I'm just following them around the map. I would tell them, let's set up for. I would have told them let's set up for a dragon right now. If I'm the jungler, I would have said let's go for dragon, and let's go get all 5 turret plates bot lane with the lead that we've generated. I'm gonna come bot with Leandri's. You're going to run bot with a BF sword and a lethality or a serrated dirk, and we're going to explode whoever gets caught in the Morgana snare, right? That's kind of where my head would be at. But entirely up to you between grubs and dragons each game. This game, though, I think I'm a dragon stacker. All right, we keep going. Thank you, obviously, for letting me ramble there for a second. There's just a lot of information on the map right now. Ultimately, this is, it's funny we talked about all that, because this is Exhibit A of why we don't go to the losing side of the map. Like, I hate trying to gank losing lanes, especially losing side lanes this season, because, I mean, that is a 3-1 Black Cleaver Urgot. You are a 4-0 Leandri's Udyr. Look at the XP, dude. He's a level 9 Urgot. You're a level 8 Udyr. Like, what gives? You have the same CS. You have more kills. You've been playing the map better. He's been in a lane all game. And you're still a level under him.
The damage really caught me off guard, so.
Yeah. And it's sad, man. But, like, this is a rule of thumb usually is if you have winning lanes, escort them. And if you have losing lanes, abandon them like the plague, dude. Like, literally just leave them alone. Okay. They'll either figure it out or they won't. The other thing that a lot of jungler players, I've heard this rule of thumb from other junglers, but I don't know if I prescribe to it. I'll tell you it, though, is that the better player always wins the lane. I actually do think with enough gold swing, the worst player can win the lane. But a lot of junglers believe that the better player will win no matter what. If somebody starts, let's say, feeding super hard, like if you've got a 0-4 Gnar top lane like this game, he's either going to be the better player, build defensive, and shut down the Urgot during a tower dive, or he's going to be a noob get all the game for the rest of the game. And that's kind of what most junglers believe and live by. So as you continue to develop your jungle skills or whatever, that's just something you can think about. There's different ways to look at it. I do think in general, though, ganking hard losing lanes is a big no-fly zone this season as jungle. It's just, right here. I like that how you went to Raptors to top before going into your Krugs. This is one of the rare moments where ganking a losing lane is correct. I like that you had the eye for that. You and me both know, baby, hey, that lightning Q can make quick work of a half-health Urgot, so good eye there. For me, I'm going straight to my Krugs. I wouldn't chase Kayn here. How I look at it is the enemy top is already dead. We're not going to be able to kill a Kayn, I don't think. Maybe. Dude, you're cooking with peanut oil over here. Yeah, dude, I'm on my Krugs in red right now. Maybe y'all get this. I don't know, dude. Yeah, I mean, the coach, I see what you're going for, and I understand as an Udyr player. The correct thing to say as a coach, though, is we just burned 300 gold. You'd be 300 gold spent in base right now if you'd done Krugs, red over to Wolves, and you could be potentially hovering bot side for a gank, You even could have done the Rift Herald off of that. For me, the reason why I don't like the Rift Herald call there is because you still have losing solo laners. I wouldn't force Rift Herald unless we had both Azir and Gnar there, but yeah, that is, you did burn about 45 seconds to a minute, which Hey, if we're having difficulty closing games out, you know. I like the Awaken E to try and get through the flip. Oh, you got lucky there. The one thing I will say, I never use Awaken E in the early game unless it's like 1,000 HP mage like Lux. With someone like
Okay.
Urgot, you need to have almost the damage for the Lightning Q or just the Awaken R to kite him. I would be careful just as a general habit using Awaken E until you get, lower Awakening cooldown, all that good stuff. Good job going into Rift Herald. Exactly what I would have done after this. Very nice. At this point, we need to spend gold, and we've got a full clear coming up. I probably would have pressed back right there with the enhanced. Usually I look at Rift Herald as your go cash in for free card and get a big tempo spike. Before farming here, I probably would have spent gold or waited for crab and then gone back to base, spent gold, and then full cleared down to the dragon. Probably would have been how I played it. Your topside camps are going to be staggered for a bit since we did the Krugs and then the Raptors here, so my headspace, if you ever find yourself in this spot where like Krugs are coming up in a minute, Raptors are coming up in 2 minutes, all your bot side camps are up, what do? Just stay bot side for the next 2 minutes and set up a vertical jungle and get vision on Kayn, and then eventually go unstagger both your camps at the same time. Bot lane is feeding, man. I don't like that they died. Rewind for a second. Let's watch. I want to see how the Kayn got to the bot, or how they ended up dying here. We're on Rift Herald. I'm really optimistic Kayn didn't have anything to do with this. Yeah, after Rift Herald there, just rewatching it, I would have gone straight back to base if I were you. And then I probably would have sprint straight. Probably I would have gone back to base, spent gold, ran straight back to the crab, because crab had like a weird 15-second timer on it, and then came back up. All right, this is your bot lane's fault, 100%. They should not be fighting this without mana with you in base. It doesn't really matter. I'm just curious from a jungle standpoint yeah, this is your bot lane's fault. They should never be fighting this. It's nice they get away with it, but okay, cool. Great. I know that was kind of strange, but I need to see how they are playing it. So that is all information that if you can, while you're walking around the map, just quickly pan to your... I don't usually watch the losing lanes because I could care less, but the winning lanes, you want to watch moments like that. I would be sprinting straight to... Your bot lane needs to reset. This is a mistake, in my opinion, telling your Jhin to stay for the dragon. I probably would have told the Jhin to go back to base here. We've got a lot of... So, from a general dragon standpoint, it's okay for you to go for the dragon, but you would do it like a cheeky sneeze, or like a sneak dragon. Right now, your team is set up for catastrophic failure with your Morgana in base, your Jhin here, and the enemy team on a dark map walking to the dragon. I would not do this dragon. I would tell Jhin to go back to base, or I would pull it out in the river. But this is a very, very risky thing to do. You may get away with it, I don't know, but just for future games, you never want to see your Morgana in base in the Jhin here, because what happens if the Seraphine comes around the corner and a Yasuo lands a NATO on your Jhin, and your Jhin hasn't spent gold, and all of a sudden, because you've got a 4-1 Jhin, but look at the Yasuo, he's got a Kraken Slayer, dude.
Right.
He's about to chop your Jhin. Oh man, just be careful if you ever try and force this. It's really your Jin's fault, not your fault. He should have not canceled the back, in my opinion, but I guess as a jungler, maybe you could have, I don't know, not pinged it. I don't know. Just be careful here.
I realized too late that I had used my smite charge on Gromp, so I was trying to get him to pull it out and just delay.
Got it.
That didn't happen.
It's a-okay. I mean, I do think that, like, as if you didn't have smite, I probably wouldn't have started it in the first place, which is a-okay. It's just those are one of, like, those very, very micro soft skills you have to develop as a jungle. It'll come with time. It's really not a big thing. Just that, for me, that is a big no-no, because I need at least two. I tell people I need 2 check marks before I do an objective. Is there a lane with prio? And do I know the enemy jungle is topside? Or do I know that the enemy support is topside? Like, there's got to be 2 check. For me, I only have 1 check mark, which is we just killed their bot lane. That's it. I don't know where anybody is. I don't know. Jhin needs to go back to base. My Udyr sucks dick in the mid lane. Like, I would be backing off that dragon just because, it's funny. Jungle really is not that hard right now, but the objectives are where 90% of your deaths will happen this split. And you just got to, like, even though you didn't die there, I look at it, your Jhin got stalled, you got stalled. We could have been farming, it's between, I guess, we talked about things, how to close games out quicker. We are burning a lot of time after you've gotten this lead. For me, I mean, I almost would be doing Krugs and then coming to just catch the melee plus 3 range there,
Yeah.
The other thing, too, I'll mention, chasing Kayn under the top turret. That did burn 45 seconds to a minute. We don't need to harp on it, but just if you add all these things together, though, in isolation, it's okay to go for 1 or 2 of these plays per game. Like, I do think have fun, like it's a game. If you're ahead, try and go for the turret dive with the lol's burn. Like, I see that. I will say, though, like, for the past 2-3 minutes, if you just rewatch this and speed it up, your top Raptors and Krugs have been staggered for 3 minutes. That does, bleed you hundreds of gold over the course of the game. I like that.
Okay.
Ooh, I would have stuck on Seraphine there, no problem. Ooh, good. Oh, okay.
It was
got
pretty
that.
much from that dragon fight, the last one, forward is when I kind of feel like I lost control and didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah. In my opinion, it's a simple fix. I just think that maybe as a player, you were saying it earlier in that, you were talking about how, oh, he's good, I'll leave him alone. Maybe just a philosophy that you could shift is, I am playing for my, like, I hate to say it, man, because everybody's selfish on the server. You play for yourself a little bit as jungle, but you play for the win condition, whatever it is. That's it. In this game, you've got a Jhin. Like, if Jhin hasn't spent gold, if he hasn't got an item spike, we're not doing the dragon, If Jhin is not in good positioning, if he doesn't have flash, and the enemy team has a Lux and is hiding in a bush, we're not walking there, You like, put yourself in Jin's head almost. You will also become a very good Udyr player, because when you start doing that, you're going to start seeing really good opportunities to lightning Q the dumbass that tries to jump on your ADC. We haven't really seen a team fight, so I don't know, how your skills are on that, but I would be literally just following Jhin around the map. Here, I would be full clearing up to the Baron, so I would have done a lot more farming. You're kind of stalling out in the mid game in a large part because you're not farming anymore at this point. I do think how I look at it is, like, there are moments to hover and look for plays, but if you pause right now, if you just rewind 15 seconds, you don't have to, but, like, you can use your imagination. Your Zer's farming, and there's a wave top, and your Jhin wants to go farm the top wave, right? So, like, if there's a moment to hover, it would not be now. You want to hover when, like, the waves are crashing into the turrets and your laners are starting to push up. If that's not happening, you should just be saying, like, Donald. What's the old cartoon of, like, Donald Duck diving in, like, the pile of money? That's just your reaction every time you see your laners under tower farming. Just go farm. Go get gold. But I would be full clearing up to Baron. But you can keep going. Just feedback when you have a huge lead. Don't stop farming. 160 CS at 20 minutes is honestly not bad. But with a Deadman's and a Leandri's, you could be pushing, like, 190 farm, 102. Yeah, I wouldn't say 200, but 190 farm is absolutely possible right now with the lead you got. Swifties also improve your clear speed by a good ton.
The big thing I thought about after was I built Swifties thinking I needed it to keep up, but I mean Ninja Tabbies, or I guess steel plates, whatever they're called now, would have been so much better.
Yeah, plated caps are excellent against the Urgot, Kane, and Yasuo. I'm a big believer in winning game state as tank Udyr. You really want Swifties. Kiting and using the Leandra's burn is half the battle. Right here, if I'm you, I would... Interesting. Rewind this fight. Your team played that abysmally. If I'm you in this fight, especially with the Deadmans and some resistances, we're Awaken Wing. I'm standing in front of... So, what we'll do here... I like that you check for your team. That is correct. I would turn the R on. I would go into QQ, and then WW, Awaken W, Awaken W is how I would have played that. And then your Jhin gets one shot, which is just unfortunate for all parties involved, because that's the carry. Morgana just isn't there. I do think how you played it was fine. I think a couple things happened. Your Azir entered that, and your Morgana wasn't there. I do think checking for the Urgot there is fine. But I wish the Azir hadn't gone Superman mode and tried to dive as Azir. He's 1-7 for a reason. I would have used I usually use, especially when you're playing like RW, Udyr, or RE, whatever you're maxing. But especially if you're put points in W second, you want to use Awaken W to kind of open the fight. Because, like, if you close your eyes and if I were to tell you that, like, there's a champion that exists that you can open the fight with a huge shield and all you've got to do is auto attack 6 times and you get the huge shield back, you would say, why wouldn't you open with the shield then? Because you mitigate the cooldowns and then you get the shield back up when they're trying to execute you and then you never die, right? That's
Right.
how to play tank Udyr. Awaken R is very tricky. I know a lot of Udyr players, myself included, overuse it. It's very fun to use Awaken R. The only time you want to use Awaken R is if your team does not have the damage to follow through and end the fight. I really think Udyr's biggest responsibility is soaking cooldowns. It's the silent hero job. Nobody will ever talk about it. You're going to get flamed because it looks like you're doing nothing. But literally by eating a Lux Snare, it means the Jhin isn't. By, running into the Urgot and dying to an Urgot ult, it means your Jhin 4 shots the Kane ult after he comes out of use, right? It's very hard to navigate, but Awaken W is almost always my opener in team fights. I don't play tank Udyr. What's his name? Aribo, or he's renamed himself, I think. But he is a really good tank player if you ever want to check him out. He'll show you how to spam some Awaken W in team fights. It's pretty funny. At this point, another just quick feedback. Once again, just look at how long our jungle camps are on the map. There's a lot of stutter stepping. We've been level 13 for like 5 minutes, it feels. And it's not to flame you. It's just, if you think about it, it's kind of funny how easy it is to get shut down, right? Farm is everything, even at this point in the game. Awaken R is fine here. I like using Awaken R for Leandra's burn pokes, slowly whittle them down so they can't siege. That's fine. You can always use it there. For sure, though, if Azir is looking to engage, I would be thinking, all right, I'm going to run in, use Awaken W, and then Azir is going to jump in after me, right? If I'm you, I would, mid's correct here. I'd push through mid, see if we can get the objective bounty on the mid turret. I think they're on the Baron. I would skip Baron. Or skip checking Baron. I would literally have just shoved straight into mid there, tried to get the turret. Even if they're on it, your team couldn't have stopped it anyway, is like the crazy part. Everybody was out of position on the map. More feedback. Once again, I'm never from a place of judgment, but your bot side camps are still up, so we got to do better about farming. It's really important to not stop farming. And another thing that I'll say was, when was the last time you did a Kane camp, One thing that will really help you close games out when you have lead, I really think, obviously the bot dragon play was where it really started feeling noticeable, but I think your first major mistake this game was chasing Kane under the top inner turret. Not only you got a minion wave, which was really nice, but that did take it away from a Gnar, so you got to take that into account. It also stalled you out, staggered your camps, and then we burned a little tempo. Then we went to Dragon, burned more tempo, and then we just haven't been farming. Really, not a whole lot. So that is kind of why I'd say the stall out happened this game. Burning time. In other words, I think you need to protect your assets, whatever they may be, a little bit more. If top wins, go camp top. If mid wins, sit around mid. Stick a little bit closer to your teammates that are winning. The other thing that I'll say is pretty important when you are trying not to stall out and preserve a lead, move your vision up into the enemy jungle, even if you only put a pink ward, and maybe you don't want to buy a pink ward, but hold on to yellow trinket and just track the enemy jungle, make it to where they can't gank. I would never do this Baron here. I don't know, dude. My headspace is at number one, they've got a blue cane who is real nasty at stealing. Our team is very low on health. We've got a Gnar that's about to transform. They've got teleports. I haven't been tracking their teleports, but we get away with it. This could have been a very spicy Baron. Thankfully, we do get away with it, though. Now, the mistake here, this is a classic. It's a rule of thumb. It's a bitch, ain't it? Don't go back to base after Baron. Spin the gold. You will see that exact archetype game in, game out, all damn day. Please just go back to base after Baron. If nothing else, it will force your teammates to go back to base and spend the free 300 gold everybody just got. 300 gold is a pickaxe for every AD champion. That is a huge difference. Okay. But that's just a good habit to build. You really don't want to ever fight after Baron unless they just walk in one by one and int. That's the only time. Most people will try and bait you to stay because it's a huge error to stay after Baron. Not to mention, sometimes that Baron debuff will still be on you, and then you've got negative armor and magic resist, and it just feels awful. Now they get a Dragon Soul, and in my opinion, we don't really need a whole... We can keep watching if you want, but the mistakes have all been made at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this game, you're now at the mercy of your team, whether or not you win, and that is not where we want to be, obviously. Any questions or feedback about all that? Obviously, we can rewatch a couple points if you want, but my big takeaways, like I said, is stick on your win con a little bit more. If you burn any tempo, I do think you're allowed to go for the top cane play, see if you can get the kill, try and get the turret, but that's your one tempo token. After that, you got to go full clear. You know what I mean? You get to cash in one at a time and then go back to farming is kind of the rhythm of jungle. If you cash two in a row, usually I tell people, I always give that analogy of when you're farming, you're collecting chips, and when you're ganking or getting an objective, you're cashing in your chips to get an advantage, right? Usually you want to, get the farm, cash in the farm. And if you go for two plays in a row, I look at that as you just spent all your chips. Get your ass in the jungle and farm your camps, You'll see different types of moments where that arises. For instance, you'll see a Shaco will do a dragon and then immediately gank bot right after. That's two plays, and you should be thinking this guy just went for a power play. His jungle camps for sure are respawning, and he for sure cannot be on time to them. You'll see it when they do a mid gank straight to Rift Grubs. You'll be thinking, great, one side of his map for sure is up, and I can maybe punish him here. And if you do it, we talked this game. Another thing that I would really look to do, and you did end up doing it, which was great, but that dragon straight over to Rift Grubs is an incredible tempo play. If you continue to do that, from that point onwards, you've got the enemy jungler on a leash because you'll be able to kill him, walk into his top side, get tracker or timers on his camps, and then at that point, you just follow him around the map. Literally, if you see that his camps are set up in a straight line path to bot, guess what you're doing? Straight line path to bot. If you see him clearing the top, guess what you do? Just clear the top. It's really, really fun at that point as Udyr, especially the way that you play it with the Leandri's Deadmans. Other thing I will mention, I would not build Abyssal Mask unless you've got a hard smurfing Katarina. Abyssal Mask is really good. I do think that on a general basis, diamond and above, it should be probably a core item on Udyr, tank Udyr especially. As a low elo is just a clown fiesta. I do think if you're going to pick up magic resist, this game I'm picking up probably either a Jack Show or a Canic Rookern at most for the Lux. I might even just get a Merc Treads and just leave it at that. I do think, one thing you can do, I also wanted to mention, you talking about the Swifties and the armor boots. Armor boots are great here. If I'm you in this game, I would buy Swifties first. As soon as the game started swinging south, sell the Swifties for the armor boots. Because as soon as you get the Deadmans, you've got slow resistance. You don't need the Swifties anymore, right? I do think the slow resistance is super good for you, though, this game. But that's one thing you can just look to do. I usually never keep Swifties until the end of the game. They get sold usually around Baron or after for actual boots, just because Swifties are a tempo thing. You can keep them to the end of the game if the enemy team will let you, but usually in team fight phase, they fall off pretty dang hard because any CC will completely counter them. So there's that. That is all my key takeaways. Any questions about any and all of that?
So I generally have, I mean, what you just saw is the same, I guess, quote unquote, play style I have for most games. And for the longest time, I've had the worst luck. I don't, that my question, I guess, initially was like following this play style over and over and over and over, is it good, or do I need to adapt it and say, I need to be more of a carry?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And honestly, as an Udyr player, you're going to run through that song and dance a million times over in that, like, should I switch builds, or is it just a goofy play style? I will say that tank Udyr, you can literally play to 1,000 LP Challenger on any server that you want. It's part of the reason why tank Udyr is so incredibly boring to me is because it forces you to learn fundamentals. It is a fantastic playstyle. You just cannot mess up any of your fundamentals in terms of clear speed, tempo, using the right awakening, because there's no ultimate haste in the build. There's not really a whole lot of damage either. To answer your question, this is the best way to play to climb, in my opinion, on a general basis with Udyr. To date, the highest ranked Udyr is still doing this exact build, I think, of Leandre's into just either Deadman's or Drain Tank, depending on the team comp. I run a lot of different builds and play styles. I truly believe that the playstyle that you have the most fun with is the best playstyle for you to climb with. Udyr can be played, last split, I got like 200 LP Masters on every single playstyle, tank, AP, and Tiger. They're all fine. They really work all the way to whatever rank you want. If you're trying to push to Challenger, I would say tank Udyr for sure is a better fit. But if your goal is just Masters Diamond, play whatever's fun to you. Go from there. I will say, like I said, Abyssal Mask is a little scary at low elo. I would almost substitute. And another thing, too, of course, is we talked about Dark Seal. Dark Seal will help you so much. Because in this type of game, imagine if you had, for instance, a 6-0 start, and you had a 15-stack Mejai's when you finished your Deadmans. Then you probably would have never slowed down because you would have had all that movement speed, and you would have just continuously kited out. You would have never died, and you would be ramping up your damage to carry these dumb teammates, right? So I do think that Dark Seal will help you a lot, and in terms of play style, I think tank. You're in the right spot. Right now we're in a tank meta, and tank Udyr is A-okay.
Perfect.
All right. Well, heck yeah. I was going to say I don't know how to end these things usually, but thank you, obviously, this was a good game to watch. I'm glad we watched it. Tempo and time, baby. It's a killer. Like, literally every second matters this jungle. It really does, But
I mean, that was awesome. That was a lot of good feedback. So
heck yeah. Well, I'm excited to see you climb. I want to see big win streaks. I'm going to go probably, what time is it? 3:50. I got dinner tonight. We'll see. Maybe I'll play another. But either way, pleasure, Montana. I appreciate you. And then I always ask, would you mind if I haven't uploaded a coaching video in forever to YouTube? Would you mind if this went on YouTube? Entirely up to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Heck yeah. I know a lot of other people might learn from it too. Well, thank you. I'm going to let you go. And please let me know if I can answer any other questions in the Twitch chat.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Great. See you, bud.
Dang. Call me so I can make it juicy for ya.